Hi, it's Stephanie West. Welcome to Central Coast Music Chat. This is my new show where I interview local bands, musicians, artists, and people in the music industry on California's Central Coast. Today I have with me Chris Sandoval from Guardsmen Productions. Hey, Chris. How are ya?
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm used to speaking out to the public. Usually I have people talk on my behalf and I kind of just record. Now I'm being recorded. This is like a game changer.
Yeah.
You've ever seen the old footage from the old punk ass bitches show? Everybody was being recorded and I was kind of just like not in the frame. I was always doing the recording.
Uh-huh.
I never really did the talking either. So
I didn't know. No, I haven't seen that. Tell me and everybody about that.
okay, so I was trying all different ways to promote shows, not just flyers. I'm still doing that today, but we had this one station that kind of catered to like what the kids would listen to, 107.3 New Rock, which doesn't exist anymore. But back in the day, it was like the station outside of like the classic rock station, 93.3.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent them a message on their advertisement department, and then I ended up getting hooked up. It was kind of costly, but people would come to me constantly like, "I heard your ad on the radio." It was only like a minute, but I mean, the word got, which fell into like Tristan was the DJ at the time, and he decided him and some other guy joined forces and came up with this like after hours punk rock show that just featured punk rock music and anything punk rock related, and anything could be said on this show that was just like way against regulations. But since it was like after hours,
Oh, okay. Uh-huh. So what were the
FCC.
hours of the show? Do you remember?
Uh,
Was it
I
like
mean,
2
like
a.m.?
the subject matters were kind of. It was funny. It was a punk rock show. We talked about everything other than punk rock. I mean, there's some crazy conversation pieces going on. I do have a lot of it recorded.
Oh, that's
But
cool. So when was this? And so what were the hours of the show? It was like after 2 or something, 2 a.m. or something?
it would be like, well, supposedly it was a live recording,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but we would come in like what Wednesday it's closed. All the radio stations were like they're out of there except for Tristan, and we would record, but then it would air that Saturday night from 11 to like 2 o'clock in the morning. So nothing was censored. We tried not to cuss as much, but the subject matter was just like Howard Stern material stuff going on there. It was fun, and it was every once in a while I would throw in like, hey, I have this show coming on, and it was like the who's who of punk rock, the musicians, the people that were helping me out at Central Coast, and it was just a good time. I mean, I'll have to start sharing some footage just to get people familiar with it.
That'd be great. What time period was this?
This is like the 2010, the early 11, 12 time frame.
Mm-hmm. So not that
I mean,
long ago. Well,
no.
yeah. Cool. So tell me about Guardsmen. When did you start Guardsmen? How long have you been around for?
So I've been into music for like my whole life, and when I finally got a license and the job, I was able to go to shows, and this is like the late 90s to early 2000s, and I didn't know about the local scene at all. I was finding myself living in Lompoc, and then eventually I made it to SLO County in, I don't know, 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So I would commute to LA, Ventura, San Diego, Frisco, everywhere other than the Central Coast, oblivious to Numbskull, what he was doing. But
Right.
he wasn't having enough shows for me to go. I mean, I was a junkie. I was going to a show like 4 times a week, or a month. I mean, a month. I was just constantly on the road. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew older, and like it was starting to interfere with my work. I was like, I was calling in sick. I'm not gonna make it today. I'm not feeling well. Usually because I didn't get any sleep because I was commuting that same night to work.
Yeah.
By the time I got in the Central Coast, it was time to go to work with maybe like a lapse of 2 or 3 hours, which is not enough sleep for me.
No.
So I had this bright idea to start putting on shows. I mean, music has always been my thing. So around 2003 era, I started doing like local shows at the Trinity Hall with Santa Barbara County and San Luis Obispo County bands. At the same Trinity Hall, the first major show that I put on was in 2004, and that was with the Addicts and Total Chaos. And then at the time, I was calling myself Central Coast Punks because it was us of the Central Coast of the punk scene, local punk scene. So it only made sense for us to call us that.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2004, I had been deployed to Egypt, which was a paid vacation, not really a deployment.
Yeah.
So I came back and I changed the name because fellow guard members were interested in like starting up a club or something like that, but that kind of fell off. But I just kept the name. Not many people. It's weird that people don't know I'm in the service after me talking about it for the last 20 years now, and the name comes from me being a National Guard.
Right.
And some people ask me, why isn't it Guardsman? Well, because it was multiple people that said they were interested, so hence the men. And I just kept it at that. So that kind of became a thing around 2005. And I was doing shows in Lompoc, Santa Maria, Paso, like all over the Central Coast. And I even ventured off to like this Fresno area, Bakersfield area, LA area.
Where'd you do shows in Paso?
One of the historical shows was at the Boys and Girls Club. I think Green Ribbon, which is Glenn from Mother F-Bomb. It was a rockin' band back in those days, and they played that show. I think Slow Kids and other bands played that show. The Scurvy Bastards were like the big time band in North County, and I pretty much was my house band outside of Slow Kids. What else? Also, I can't remember, but there was a show at the Tascadero Armory and Masonic Temple or Hall, whatever you want to call it. So that's how I started doing shows. Is like I'd rent out a hall, like a memorial building or whatever, and that would be pricey because they want security, the $1 million insurance. So then I started I went from like all ages, and then I kind of just went straight into like 21 over. So then you got like old Sullivan shows in Santa Maria, you got Johnny shows in Lompoc. I did a bunch of shows in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara and Slovo became kind of like my two hotspots at one time. And now, recent day, well, because of the coronavirus, I'm kind of like on hiatus like everyone else. But I was covering Santa Rosa, which is way up in Sonoma County, past Frisco. And
I saw that you had you were doing TSOL up there, and I had just been to the TSOL show in San Luis. So I was like, oh, it's kind of funny because you've got like the duo, Numbskull and Guardsmen, like both booking TSOL, and I thought that was interesting. But yeah.
Well, Landon, the agent of Covert Booking, he deals with promoters all over the state, so he can't rely on just Eddie to put on these shows. He covers a lot of ground, as did I. I didn't cover as much, but now I'm kind of just. At first, I wanted to just stick to the Central Coast, but my friend Fury of Resilience, he was saying that I used to book up there before around 2011, 2012, and I knew that there was a scene there. And it kind of, since I went out of there, it was just like local bands playing for the most part. And the Phoenix Theater is like an epic venue from, like, I don't know, I would say like 80s, like Slayer played there before, and Devo and other bands played there at the Phoenix. And it's like Ventura Theater, but older and up north. So he's like, dude, you should bring some shows back over here. And I had done so just before the pandemic hit. And TSLO was just around when the public is catching wind about this coronavirus, and they're saying that shows shouldn't be beyond 300 people. And I'm like, oops. Because that TSLO show I had in Santa Rosa was just phenomenal.
Was it? Yeah.
And I think the last show that I had there was Guttermouth, which also played in the Central Coast. So that's what he's doing. He's like, I mean, I was covering his area, but like Eddie wants to bring back punk shows, so I guess he's covering this area more. Or even the Siren, they're doing punk shows now. So I mean, yeah, I pretty much have that part of the Bay Area covered. And there's all of a sudden there's like 2 all ages venues that weren't there before in Santa Rosa, and then the Phoenix Theater has always been there, but it's just too big. I mean, you need like Bon Jovi to play at this place if you want to pack it. I mean, with 300 people in that building, which holds like 1,200 people or something like that, it just seems empty, even though that's a phenomenal crowd in a smaller establishment. So right now, I had all these bands playing, like scheduled to play, but the coronavirus has kind of put everything on just stop.
Yeah, I noticed that you were going to bring Christian Death in and the Dickies, and I was super excited about you bringing the Dickies here. Have you just canceled all those shows, or how many shows did you have to cancel because of the Corona?
I would say maybe like 2 or 3 shows that just didn't happen, but a lot of them are being postponed because a lot of them are under the same agent who has the
Kind of
Meteor, who
right,
has Dickies, who has Christian Death. All those bands, I just kind of postponed because he doesn't want to call it quits.
right
He just wants to postpone it to the fall, but it doesn't seem like we're gonna open up.
in the fall. So you're pretty much in limbo, just kind of waiting to
Yeah,
see.
basically, yeah.
Yeah,
People are dying for shows or just a reason to go out and do something. And
I know they sure are. I I'm definitely, I know a lot of people that just are having total withdrawals. So, I mean, and they've been doing shows online. I saw that TSOL just did like a live stream. A
all that.
DO just did a live stream. So there's definitely live streams going on, but it's just not the same because, you know, you can't connect with all your friends locally. And I don't know. I mean, it's good enough. It's good for now, but it's not the same. Manny's, I'm sure you know about Manny's closing. That was one of the main places where, you know, all these punk shows were being done in the North County, right?
Yeah, North County's been overlooked for so long because people are like horrified by the grade. Ugh, it's so scary. And the only shows that really kick off are like what's going on at the Vino Robles. Like they're pulling all these heavy hitters like Marilyn Manson and
Mm-hmm.
Weezer and whatnot, Rob Zombie, which will bring people out.
More,
People will go up grade grade. Well, there is a bar there that's having shows. The was it Tooth and Nail or something like that?
yeah.
I went there for the Guttermouth show, and that was quite interesting. It was kind of a mixed crowd. It was like I just felt weird because it felt like a classy establishment, and being a punk rocker just didn't seem like I should be rubbing elbows with the upper class,
I know. I was thinking
the
that.
high
I mean,
society.
I like Tooth and Nail. They have some great shows. I've been I've been there once or twice to the Central Coast Music Con. They were having it there for a while before they switched it to Slow Brew Rock. But I was thinking that too when I saw that Guttermouth was playing Tooth and Nail, and I was like, okay, well, so, you know, what do you? I mean, when I was there at the Central Coast Music Con, I just noticed, you know, there was the local, you know, music crowd around, and then there was these people in like loafers and shorts and their very expensive watches, and you know, just it was kind of a clash of interest. So I'm thinking about like what happened when those people are intermingling. So you know, what do? You order a rosé and go watch Guttermouth? I mean, it. I think that,
It was exactly what you mentioned. It was like the people are over there like with their pinkies up, drinking their fine wine, and I was just like, I can't relate with these people because that's not anything that interests me.
yeah.
You didn't see any diehard like butt patches and like spikes and mohawks and stuff like that. But if that element was to come into there, I'm sure it would just cause an uproar. Like, whoa, what's happening to our niche?
Okay, I noticed that on Facebook you had posted some kind of communication. Was it with the county about booking shows and their policy?
I'm being asked to bring shows to the area, and I was like, well, I don't know where we stand on that. So I put a post saying, hey, people are asking for shows that happen, and shows or venues are allowing for that again. But then somebody saw that post and then shared. They asked the county about where we stand, and the county responded, and then I was tagging that post. So,
Okay, I see.
which the venue also saw, but so I went ahead and asked a couple bands, what do you think about playing? And pretty much I'm getting no's. And same with agents. Agents are just like, no, it's not going to happen. So,
Right.
like, this one agent has all these heavy hitters. He doesn't want to give in. He just wants to postpone it to the fall, which we had done so.
Mhm.
Other agents just want to do anything about this year at all. Like it's a total loss. They're thinking maybe next year,
Right.
which is when the vaccine should be released.
Mhm.
So yeah, I asked a couple bands, and they're all, well, one of them said, we'll see how it goes. They're interested, but if California's not allowing for it, or especially our county, then they're not even going to try it. Another one who's all into science,
Mhm.
they said, hell no.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So, which is under the same agency, it says next year. I talked be since I've been working with bands, I can talk to them directly, but out of courtesy, I can run it through their agent.
Yeah, I think that you've hobnobbed with a lot of cool punk bands, and you've made some friends, with them and stuff from what I've heard from your
Yeah, I
story.
mean, there's a lot of bands that are under agencies,
Mhm.
but I can still directly, like, because I have built up that trust factor and credit with them because I've been working with them for almost 20 years now. So
Mhm.
yeah, my favorite spot that I had the most fun at was at Skip Gibson's because it was like a total family oriented venue. I was
Mhm.
seeing people bring in their grade school kids and they were on stage dancing around and they were in the pit, like just, or in the front row, just loving the shows.
Mhm.
And Manny's was like that a little bit, but then of course kids get dumb with alcohol and
Right.
bring attention to it. So then they went to 21 over.
Right.
Um, Manny's is a great spot. It's just in the wrong town. Like
Right.
same with the ranch. It's a great spot in the wrong town. North County, like I said, you need to have like Flogging Molly or somebody, Slayer playing to really gather those people up, or the Mid-State Fair,
Right.
something to that caliber.
What's your most memorable show? Your favorite show that you've ever done?
Hmm. I had a Agent Orange show
Mhm.
in two spots. One was at the Gilman, which is pretty epic. That's an epic venue up in the Bay Area. And
Berkeley.
then one at the Phoenix Theater in Petaluma.
Mhm.
What was memorable of the Gilman show was the girlfriend that I had at the time had passed away
Mhm.
on the day of the show that was happening. That was to be scheduled at the Gilman, and people. I always let my life be publicly known on Facebook,
Mhm.
and people were thinking that the show was going to be canceled because I would be too distraught
Mhm.
to continue with the shows. But uh, the fans didn't deserve that. The bands didn't deserve that, and it was a way of me not just focusing on my own depression. So I kind of kept my mind busy. And then Mike Palm, the singer of Agent Orange, goes on stage and he goes, "This one goes out to Chris, Too Young to Die." He was really dedicating it to Helen, who was a big uh, contributor to the scene in the Central Coast alongside of me. She was always the door girl way back in 2010, 11, 12. So I remember that because it was personal and it was emotional, and people respect what's going on in my life. And yeah, Agent Orange is like a band that I see like all the time. Like I'll
Mhm.
go to punk rock bowling and they'll be setting up. I'll help them bring in their equipment and I'll help them take their equipment back. And I was on military duty in Texas,
Mhm.
and I look at the who do you know, or who around you is around you. Like who do you know that's around you? Like the whole stalker app on Facebook, like who's nearby. And it said Mike Palm. I'm like, why the hell is Mike Palm? I put a post. Why the hell is Mike Palm like in the same area that I'm in? And then one of them goes, I think they're on tour. And then like not even 10 minutes later, Perry, the bass player, is like, I got you on the list, you and plus one. I'm like, well, I didn't make that announcement to
Yeah.
get a bonus out of it, but awesome. I get to see friends
Mhm.
in way out of my area. So there I was. And it's just crazy that musicians who've been traveling for decades are so interested in what's going on in my life. Like I'm some kind of superstar. When in my eyes, I see superstars because I can totally like your music touches me, and it had been doing so since I was a kid. Well, kid of like I was into the metal scene, and Nirvana kind of introduced me to the punk scene. So my love of punk rock wasn't until like after '94, so or before '94, like the '90s. So yeah, and I don't know. It's just weird for me to have a band like my post. Like I'm someone special when
It does feel good when bands acknowledge and appreciate you as a fan, and then or when they talk to you and you're just like, wow, they're just an everyday person and they do appreciate their fans, because that's what that's why they're doing it, besides their love for music. you know so I think that they do notice who keeps showing up at their shows and liking their posts, and they appreciate it. And it's like-minded people. It's like their tribe.
that's one thing I've noticed is with a lot of the bands that I talk to,
Mhm.
just on a personal level, it's not about music, just holding a conversation about whatever subject matter. And they're usually just down to earth people, like someone that could be your neighbor and stuff like that. They don't really have that ego, like, oh, get away from me. You're beneath me.
Well, some of them
Um,
do, but it's pretty rare.
so I'm at punk rock bowling, and Fat Mike is bowling there. And I go up to him and I go, hey, how do I go about booking you guys? It's been forever since you guys been through here. And he just kind of he acknowledges I'm talking to him, but then he just, all he does is go talk to that guy, which was their agent.
Mhm.
So he walked away. There's been multiple times where Fat Mike kind of acted like, don't bother me. I don't need to be bothered by. I don't know who you are. You're insignificant.
Yeah.
And yeah, that bothered me. I was like, oh, wow, I'm a fan
It's kind of
and
rude.
you're going to treat me like,
It's always
yeah,
a really big disappointment when you meet someone that you're really into and they're just kind of, dismiss what you're saying, and it's disappointing. Or you find out they're a giant asshole in real life. But
I would say there's the one person that I thought would be a total douchebag was Lars Frederiksen. So I was invited to a show. It was one of the club shows in Vegas, and it was Lars. It was Lars Frederiksen, but it was the Old Firm Casuals. It's like his side project away from Rancid. And he comes off stage and he's standing in the crowd watching the other bands play. And I go up to him. I'm thinking, okay, this guy's gonna be a total prima donna.
Mhm.
And he's talking to me. I'm not talking to him, but he's responding back, but not in an asshole way. He's actually listening to what I'm saying and continuing the conversation. So I ask him, how do I go about booking you guys? The one I just saw, not Rancid. That's way above my caliber. He goes, he points at himself.
What?
Oh, really? I go from you directly? And I'm like, wow. And then I asked for a photo and he was all about it. Like he was very personal. And I'm like, wow. Because whenever I see him on stage, he always seems like he has an attitude, like I'm a badass attitude. But in person, he was talking to me. And then many years later, I ran into him at some bar in Oakland. I'm like, hey, I like that. And they played again, like 10 years after I saw him the first time in Vegas. I'm all, still want to book you guys. And he gives me their agent's info. So I'm like, he was kind of running out. I'm handing flyers out for shows up north. So Oakland is like maybe half hour, 45 minutes away from where I'm booking at. So if I can bring all these areas to this one area, hey, it's going to be a great show. And it was for the TSLO show. So I'm handing flyers out and someone's run out the door and I didn't know that first what it was who I handed a flyer to. And then he walks away. I'm like, oh shit, that was Lars Frederiksen. Good. I expect Lars to be at my show then. But then I went after him, like talked to him about booking shows, and he's all spelling out the agency's email. I'm like, okay, cool.
So
So yeah, I mean,
you're kind of notorious for handing out paper flyers, which is kind of old school, right? I mean, you don't see that too much anymore. I mean, you saw that a lot in the 90s.
it seems like everyone relies on social media now, like to get the word out. Like word of mouth is one thing, but like I said, I try to use all the different avenues. I was using radio, flyers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I had some instances about flying. I was at a local establishment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my usual flyering, and the security guard asked for a flyer, so I handed him a flyer. He didn't think anything of it. And then the cop shows up, and he stands right next to the security guard, not paying me any attention. They're talking to each other. I'm handing out the flyers, at the end of the night, because I don't go inside and hand out flyers because people have issues about that. So I'm handing flyers out. Some old guy on a cane's like, "What's this?" I'm all, "It's a flyer." He's all, and he's all giving me shit like he's all, "You should ask the owner if it's okay to do this." I'm like, and then he goes, "I'm the owner." And I'm like, "No shit," because I'm like, really? Who would say that and not be the person that they're speaking about? So he goes, "I don't come to your establishment to do this." So it's not my place. So I was just totally being a smartass and like trying to get this guy away from me. And I go, I went. Oh, the reason he says because I didn't go inside. I'm outside here, the public area. It's free game. There's no signs that says no soliciting or anything.
Yeah, and
So if
it's
you don't want me here,
I mean,
the police are not being. It's public territory. Like I'm not in an establishment. You can't make me go away. So he goes away annoyed, and I'm looking at the cop the whole time, like looking at me. I'm like, if you got an issue, I don't think they didn't have an issue, so I don't care. I don't really care what you say. And this happened to me a couple of times because places, I don't know, they just act stupid because you're diverting traffic from their area, I guess. But whatever. There's no signs. It's not against the law to be on the public sidewalk,
right.
handing stuff out.
Yeah, well,
So
I've
yeah.
found so many good shows by flyers, you know. That's how I found out about Numbskull, you know, that's how I found out about you and your shows is by a flyer. So, you know, keep doing it.
Yeah, when I was in Southern California, that's all I ever saw, and it was LA area is like a hub of music because there's 50,000 cities in LA to go to, and all those different flyers of different establishments were just coming to you direct. And you were getting like 20 flyers by the time you're walking out from the front door to your car. It's just like, So you have all that time to think, oh, well, damn, I want to go to this one. I want to go to this one. I want to go to this one. So that's why I found myself going to SoCal so often. And I was like, you know what? How about we bring that stuff up here? What I want to see down there, how about we bring it up here? And I've been doing that for almost 20 years now. And I don't know, a lot of the bands I cover I've been working with forever, but there's always some new ones being thrown in, stuff like that. So I don't know. I love music and people love music. And now there's a definite demand for it because it's been gone in hiatus for so long. So it's a
People
matter of time.
granted, you know, they really did. They took it for granted. Like a lot of artists and musicians you know, they get taken for granted. But it's like them who provide entertainment. You know, I talked about this with another interview. It's like anything you watch on TV and listen to on the radio. It's you know, all this stuff that's keeping you entertained during quarantine is all created by artists. So yeah, it's just hopefully there'll be a big comeback when, and I think there will be. I mean, because I think people are really, you know, hungry to get back in the scene, and they have a new kind of appreciation for it because they haven't been out in so long. So hopefully they'll, you know, be back at your shows in greater numbers.
Yeah, this one establishment was talking about how when they do allow for shows, it would be like a limited amount of people. And I was like, the thing is, I think a local band is going to be able to draw like that amount alone just because people just want to see music.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't be like, well, we're only allowing for 50 people and you need like 100 people to pay off the closing band. That's just
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, it's too hard.
that's not worth jumping into. So yeah, I mean, I had to explain that. It's like, I'll probably wait till like there is no factors to worry about, no cutoffs or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. So when you get the all clear, do you have in mind the first bands you're going to book, and where are they going to be?
In slow, I have like the Meteors that are still pending. The Dickies are still pending. Christian Death is still pending.
Mm-hmm.
Up north, same bands, because just like before when I was doing shows in Slow and Santa Barbara, those are my two spots, so I'd have the same identical show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those Christian Death was the only show happening in the Central Coast. He didn't give me another date, but the Meteors was is supposed to happen in both locations.
Mm-hmm.
the Dickies as well. But I really don't have faith that the doors are going to open up in that regards to live entertainment.
Right.
Because pretty much agents, bands, that's why you're seeing like punk rock bowling that was canceled, Coachella, all this stuff that was supposed to happen is just being canceled, just as a precaution, I guess. Even though California is supposed to be reopening, but everyone pretty much is thinking next year is when shit's gonna kick off again. To include punk rock bowling, they're already advertising. I think you're probably using the same flyers, but just change the date.
Right.
I don't know. So I mean, if we get the all clear and everyone's doing it, then I guess I follow suit. But I don't want to be doing something that's going to put people in jeopardy. I don't want to be remembered for getting people sick or dying. It leads back to the show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the bands understand. They get it. No, I haven't seen any of them like bitch and complain. I think the Reverend Horton's, he said like, show's going to happen regardless of what. But I don't think it's up to the bands as much as the venue are like under the governor's control. Right. Because if they try to do something, they're just going to shut them down. And I'd rather not have that attention brought on to me or the establishment or the band. You don't want the bands traveling to just not play at all. That sucks.
Yeah.
But so everyone's being extra cautious and smart about it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, rightly so. It'll pick back up, I think, and I'm hoping that it just kind of is a little bit a pumped up version of what it used to be. So that might be good for you in the future. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had some heavy shows that would have brought people out anyway. Because when's the last time the Meteors played anywhere near us? I think, if anything, down south, like hours away. And I've been listening to them since forever. They kind of dabble into the punk rock scene because I wouldn't say they're just a rockabilly band or a psychobilly band. I think it would definitely draw from both genres and stuff like that. Because rockabilly is not really all that popular unless you're like horror pops, which had been playing before the virus hit, and then I guess they stopped altogether because everyone else did. Like Slow would have the same three bands play: Horror Pops, Necromantics, and Tiger Army.
Mm-hmm.
One by one, they just stopped coming. I think Necromantics was like one of the last ones to not come anymore. But for some reason, people love the Coffin Cats. Like, I never had a bad show with the Coffin Cats. Like, I guess they just love their energy, and they're definitely showmen. So
yeah, I mean, it's kind of kitschy, and everybody loves that.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, it's been really awesome talking to you, and I appreciate you taking the time, and thanks for all the hard work that you've done over, like almost 20 years in the scene. Yeah,
time flies. Like 2003, I've been in the service since 96, so everything is just flying all together, and they kind of intertwine with each other. So
yeah,
I have a love for my country, therefore I serve it, and I love music. So
yeah,
I never picked up an instrument, but I had to be involved somehow, and this is my way of giving back to my community. So
thanks for all the years of great shows, and thanks for your service to us in the United States. We appreciate that too, and hopefully we'll talk soon. I can't wait to go to your next show and see which one that is.
Yeah, whichever one that might be. Yeah. Time will tell.
Well, maybe see
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, take care.